Paul, there's a lot of talk lately about the fact that women are not really represented great in history. And I wonder, should we be rewriting the history books?
You see, I think that women, don't get represented in history because a lot of, they come back in the day, certainly in Ireland, well, it was true everywhere. Men were the educated ones. There was very few professional women. Women's role traditionally was you stay at home, you bring up the kids. And it was terrible because any woman then who didn't want to do that was a kind of, she had a hard life in society. I remember, I can't remember her name, but she has the title of being the first female doctor in Ireland.
Go
and
away.
there was a big hoo-ha about it.
Stop.
Yeah, and there was some really intelligent, clever women out there, and there weren't, because history books then would have been written by academic men.
Yeah, they would have, is right. And the whole thing around men were always the leaders and in power and everything as well.
Yeah.
Now, that's grand. Do you know, it's part of history, I suppose. And another big part of our history, of course, would have been that priests could only be men, like, do you know, if a Catholic priest.
Yeah.
But in other religions, women are allowed to be priests as well. So it's a funny
that's
sort
a kind of
thing.
minority, though, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, you can only be a nun, you see, if you're Catholic in Ireland. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you never thought of being a nun, did you?
I fucking did not.
Because,
No way, bro. That was never going to be my thing.
but I think though about history. You see, history is not an exact thing. History is written by the victors, whoever has kind of won the thing. And I remember years and years ago, I was on holiday somewhere, and we were watching something on telly, but there was a British guy standing beside me, and he said something to me at the effect of he said, "Why don't you call yourselves British?" And I said, "We're Irish." I said, "But it's part of Britain." He said, "It's not part of Britain. Northern Ireland is part of Britain, and even that's under dispute. That's what all the troubles was on.
Yeah.
This is way before pre-95.
Yeah.
I said, and why? What's your problem with that?" And I said, "Would 800 years of oppression have anything to do with that?" And he goes,
I wonder.
What are you talking about? And he
Oh,
didn't
wait,
know.
he didn't know.
He didn't know stuff. And like a lot in English education in England, Scotland, and Wales, I assume it's the same as Scotland and Wales. But they're taught their version of history.
Yeah.
They're taught that the British Empire was a wonderful thing, that we went out and we brought civilization to every country.
Great Britain.
They don't say that we raped, pillaged and plundered, and there's more Egyptian artefacts in museums in the UK than there is in bloody Egypt.
Yeah.
That they took all of this stuff. They weren't doing it for the good of the health.
Do you know what they did? Do you know what's really strange as well, Paul? Like, I don't remember ever learning about Irish history in the way that my mother would have taught me.
Yeah.
My mother is, from Fermanagh in obviously Northern Ireland, and she would have seen a bit of the Troubles growing up.
Yeah.
But her parents certainly would have. My grandparents would have been involved in the Troubles. But like, her version of history is completely different to the one that we were taught in school.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that same thing, but I even asked my children this, what did you learn about Irish history?
Well, you see, even in school, I remember, De Valera was the big deal.
He was the
school.
big deal, yeah.
And you see, that's because, when Fianna Fáil came in to the Dáil, they took their place in the Dáil.
Yeah.
They became the dominant political force then for years and years and years. And Michael Collins was kind of written out of history. It was I remember just learning that Michael Collins, he was the guy on the opposite side, on the bad side of the Civil War, and he got shot. And that was it. And then the Civil War ended. And kind of that was it. And it wasn't until the film Michael Collins came out in the 90s, so you kind of go, hold on a minute, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's a totally different side to it.
Completely different.
And De Valera was seen then as the bad guy.
Wasn't he? Yeah, because he really did portray the Irish people, like the Irish Republican Army.
He kind of set Collins up, like.
He really did, like. And also that film, a really great film came out as well. Cillian Murphy is in it.
Oh, right. Any film with Cillian Murphy in it is a good
Fabulous.
film. Yeah.
But
him and Aquaman, if they could do a film together, it'd be perfect.
That'd be perfect. And Brad Pitt, maybe we'll throw him in there as well. Why not?
Right.
The Wind That Shakes the Barley is an awesome film. Oh my God. And that's more a representation of what my mother would have talked about, the Black and Tans. And do you know that the Black and Tans were World War veterans? Our veterans coming over that were traumatised with PTSD.
Not only
they were fucking sent over here to deal with the Irish.
It was worse than that, Siobhan. There were guys that were let out of prison.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Today, modern day Ukraine, they're criticising Putin for taking people out of prison in Russia and sending them to the front line in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And these guys are kind of like, would you want to like fester away and you know, die in a Russian prison, or will you go out and fight? I think so they'll take the fighting thing. At least they might have some chance of surviving that. And we criticise Putin for that, but the British government
did the same
got
thing.
people out of prison in the UK and they sent them over to, and they were called black and tans because they didn't have proper uniforms. They had a mixture of uniforms, so it was black and tans.
Tan trousers.
And I remember my history teacher, Jim Waldron, who was a wonderful, marvellous history teacher. He was saying that the ordinary British Tommy, the ordinary regular British soldier, was respected to some degree in Ireland because they were disciplined, they were professional soldiers, they had done training. The black and tans hadn't done any training. So you're moving me around a bit. The black and tans were just kind of go over there, and they were given free rein to do whatever they did. So they literally did rape, pillage, torture people.
Oh, they did.
And the license to do it.
Cut this, nearly scalped women and everything in their homes, burnt the houses down. Like, they were absolute animals. Like, I mean, I wouldn't even insult the animals to call them that.
Yeah.
They were horrific. Like,
there was horrible things done. I'm not saying that there wasn't horrible things done on the Irish side as well, because I remember growing up, there was an elderly neighbour of ours, and he was a real kind of a loner, and all he did was really he walked into town and he would get drunk and walk home, and he actually got killed on the road one night coming home. But I found out later that one of his things was that he was in the Civil War, and himself and his brother were interrogated by the Black and Tans, and the Black and Tans just shot his brother in front of him.
Jesus.
So he had PTSD.
Of course he did,
and he was never able to deal with it. But another thing, I was watching a guy, John Murray is his name, he's a professor of he talks about economics, money and stuff, and he talks about what's happening in the States and what's happening in the UK with Brexit, and very interesting person. But I did not know that he has Irish ancestry. His name is Murphy, so yes, obviously he has. It didn't click with me until he mentioned something. He was talking about food shortages in the world as a result of maybe the economics that Trump is working, and you know, they're talking about eggs are gone up huge in the States, and what about if other food commodities became scarce? He said, like, it's a real thing. He said with avian flu and everything, suddenly you kind of wipe out all of the eggs, and eggs are needed in everything, especially like the fast food industry. But he was talking about the Irish famine, that he said I'd studied Irish history because of Irish ancestry. I thought, and he said a lot of English people or British people did not know about the Irish famine until that film, it was Black 47 I think, came out. And it was about an Irish soldier and the Irish famine. And a lot, I remember, that was 2018 I think it was, and a lot of people online said, oh, that never happened. And they were totally blissfully unaware that there had been this calamity in Irish history, that you had a country, a population of 8 million people that was halved effectively through people starving to death and immigration. But he made the point in his video, he said that there was enough wheat in the country to feed all of these starving people, but the British government made the decision, and we don't want to give it to them, we're going to export it. So he said it was effectively genocide. And I have an issue then with British people who kind of go, you know, why don't you want to be part of the British Empire? And I go, oh. Like, I remember too that there was a guy who was, if I can get the link, I'll attach it to the video. It was an Indian guy who was talking. He was on some forum, and somebody from the audience asked about, you know, all the wonderful things the British Empire did for India, and he goes, wait a minute, before Britain invaded India, India was a thriving economy. It was exporting silken goods and everything, spices all over the world.
And stuff,
And he said afterwards, he said it was gone right down. Indian people had no rights, and he was even saying that the cruelty that if an Indian person, I think if it was a particular crime or just any crime, they would cut their thumbs off. And a lot of them made a living through weaving, and now they couldn't weave because they'd no thumbs.
Oh God!
So they made them effectively destitute.
For feck's sake!
So there was a lot of this, and like a lot of British kids are schooled and saying the British Empire was fantastic. We brought civilization to the world, and everybody should be grateful to us. No.
You didn't, actually. Yeah. Isn't that why the royalty have, you know, all the kings and queens and all this crack, they have so much wealth, is because they
King Charles
slavery.
is the wealthiest landowner of the world.
They introduced slavery into the world, like, you know. But look, I'm not here to slave.
No,
the British,
and I like British people. I have a lot of British friends and a lot of family who were Irish.
And
British.
my sister lives over there, and you know, she has a great life there, and she loves it. Yes, and she will.
And I've been there many times.
She feels it. It's a very Oasis video altogether, but it's not. We don't mean to be, I suppose.
No,
look,
no.
it's just, I suppose, that we should be rewriting history, I think, Paul. Like, there is an opening there for it to be rewritten, and not to get away from, you know, the fact that women are not represented properly in history at all. I mean, they wanted to put a statue up in Dublin here as well, like, of a woman, and who did they put up? Only Molly Malone. Like, there's just a song about her. She was a fishmonger. Grand, it's a story, but she's not an iconic woman in my view.
No, they have a busty statue of her, and they're giving out now about people rubbing the breasts of the statue.
Oh, for God's sake.
Now, I don't know was the original, there probably isn't a photograph of the original Molly Malone, but
it's
whoever,
you, isn't it, Paul?
whoever commissioned that statue and thought we would give her a massive... But what are people going to be doing?
They fucking caught you, didn't they?
There's another statue somewhere of some guy, I forget where it is, but it's somewhere in Europe too, where the rub is growing.
No.
And it's supposed to be good luck for being fertile and, you know, having kids and all the rest of stuff. And the same problem, it's been worn away.
Oh, bless us. If you think these statues should be, what do you call it?
Put in a preservation.
Yes, yeah, you know, caged maybe. Let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, let us know what you think about Irish history, women underrepresented in history. And yeah, should we have a kind of like an independent commission who would write history exactly as it should be, rather than giving it a slant bias in favour of one or the other. We're Happy Headers. Like us, subscribe to us, and we'll talk to you soon.